Welcome to the Bite Size Brilliance Podcast. I'm your host, April Darley, and today I want to talk about Albert Einstein. I came across a quote recently from him that I have not seen before, and Einstein has some banger quotes, right? I just think he was so intelligent in just this really interesting way. I love to read stuff about Einstein, both the good and the bad. I mean, he was no angel, he had some stuff in there. But this particular quote, and I'll read it to you now, is It's not that I'm so smart, but I stay with the questions much longer. I love that because I think you and I would probably look at Einstein and go, dude, you're brilliant. What are you even talking about? You are crazy smart. But his curiosity was really kind of almost unparalleled. And I have read other things about how he would engage in daydreaming and his imagination was so vivid. And some of these discoveries that he made were from these daydream sessions, right? And I agree with Einstein that curiosity is so important to the human experience. And it's because I am a mind junkie, right? I am constantly taking courses, I'm reading books. I read 1 to 3 books a week. And I usually am taking some sort of summit at least once a week. It's almost a rare week that I don't have some sort of higher learning going on, right? I just love to learn. And when I hear about some people that are like in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they tell me, "I haven't read a book since I graduated high school." I'm like, "What? What are you doing? How are you learning? Aren't you curious about all of these different things?" But some people do not have high curiosity, and that's okay. That's just how they're wired. But I encourage curiosity, and here are a few things I see when people don't have it. So when I have a client come to me with depression, especially because anxiety and depression often they present together, but I do work with the three brain theory and the three brain system. So when I see someone with high functioning anxiety or high anxiety, I know that that is a part of their survival brain and that that is a fear-based reactionary system. So my job is to find out what fear it is that's kicking your entire nervous system up, that's hijacking your thoughts and causing you to feel this symptom that you know as anxiety. But when it comes to depression, this is a little trickier because depression actually belongs to the emotional brain, which is our feelings, uh, intuition, and creativity. The imagination would be here. Now, the emotional brain creates its own reality, and it's called emotional reality. When we daydream, we're accessing this area. You most commonly know it referred to as the subconscious, right? So the subconscious actually has no logic in it. It is actually emotional based, which is why it can be so expansive and creative. And so if you think about Einstein, he wasn't just incredibly logical, incredibly knowledgeable, but he also had to be incredibly creative and intuitive to tap into some of these worlds, these things that he saw in his mind, that curiosity. And when it comes to depression, I find that they have lost curiosity. And I use this sort of an example. If two people fell into a pit, one of them had high anxiety, the other one had high depression, the person with high anxiety is most likely to try to figure out a way to get out. The person with depression won't, right? So it causes a different sort of nervous system response and a different reactionary response. So please understand that I am not making fun of you or commenting on either way. These are real medical conditions that can have a lot of different causes. I'm just only speaking to some of the emotional workings that I see going on with that. Okay. So, depression, in my world, It's kind of a disconnect from joy. And if you ask someone or you've known someone who has depression for whatever reason, it's hard for them to feel it. It's like they've lost touch with it. They don't even know what would make them happy, even though they actually desire to be happy. They don't want to be depressed. Nobody wants to be depressed. Nobody wants to be anxious, but it happens. And so they've lost that connection. And one of the things I recommend, and this is there's a lot of different ways to solve depression, okay? And because there's a lot of different causes, but this is what I often recommend from a mental emotional standpoint is to engage with your curiosity again. What have you always wanted to know that you don't know? Where have you always wanted to go? What have you always wanted to learn? What have you always wanted to try? But if you go re-engage with your curiosity, it helps kind of activate that piece of the brain and bring it back online again. Because we rediscover joy through re-engaging with life. And part of that re-engagement looks like discovery, connection. And if you look at the word joy, it's a lot more prevalent now, but it used to be you don't really hear joy until around December, right? But a lot more people are really kind of cluing into how joy is so important in our lives for overall functioning. But some people, when they are in this depressive state, joy is too far away. It's like they can't even, nope, that's a concept they can't even hook onto. So bring it back, strip it back, start real small. So, can you get curious? Can you get interested? Can you get excited? Can you try something? And if the answer is yes, you go and do that. If the answer is no, they can't think of anything they would like to do, then I'm going to ask them to go back a little further. So, in your childhood, what did you enjoy doing? Because generally, even if you've been in a depressive state for a long time, at some point in your life, you were happy. So, go back to that point, identify what was different between then and now. Go back to your childhood. Even if you had a terrible childhood, there are points that will be okay. There were points where you might have enjoyed something. What was it? So we're not asking you to revisit the pain because we don't want to do that. That'll continue activate the depressive or anxiety cycle. We want you to go back and look for the curiosity, the wonder, the joy, the excitement. We want you to re-engage there. So for example, if you really liked playing with animals when you were a kid, and you don't currently have an animal, but you really love animals, try to bring animals into your life in some way. Go volunteer at a shelter, volunteer to be a dog walker. A lot of cities have a program where you can check out a dog for a day, take it for a walk, give it some socialization, give it a little bit of love, get it out of that shelter environment, which is very depressive for the dogs, right? So you're helping them. And there are so many stories out there where people were in severe depression and they will tell you this animal saved my life. And that can happen for you. And why is that? It's connection, it's curiosity. It re-engages you with your joy because animals are hilarious. I mean, we don't deserve them. They are fabulous, right? But that's just one example of how it's so important to re-engage with life, re-engage with your community, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's something you would rather not be doing, because those emotions happen a lot with depression as well, anxiety too, but re-engaging with the wonder, with the imagination, with the curiosity, letting yourself try something new, letting yourself go back to something old that brought you joy. This is the key to moving forward. And you can actually rediscover so many different things by tapping into a curious state. So, Einstein wasn't so smart, but he just stayed with the curiosity and he let it go where it took him. You know, he just followed. So that's my advice for you is to follow your curiosity, engage it, play around with it. You know, it might just be researching a topic on the internet For example, a lot of people have a interest in ancient Egypt, but they don't really know much about it. This might be your time to start researching ancient Egypt. Read a book, join a club on Facebook. All these things, listen to some podcasts, watch some documentaries. That's all it takes. It doesn't have to be very time consuming. It doesn't have to require a lot of effort, especially if you don't feel very good. There are so many ways to activate these different areas of your brain that can move you forward and actually be a solutions that you've looking for. All right, my friends, I'm wishing you so much love, so much happiness, and so much success because you deserve it and you are worth it. You deserve all the joy in the world. So go out, get curious, be like Einstein, and reconnect with life. Until next week, my friends, goodbye.